thing that we haven't really touched on is the direct knock-on effects to the Highlands and Islands of the fracking in the Central Belt. So I think really we need to be looking at the country as a whole instead of sort of dividing it up between the Highlands and the Central and whatever. Aside from North Sea oil, Scotland and the Highlands especially, most lucrative export industries include whisky, world famous quality beef and lamb, and traditional natural textiles. Now, these are indigenous industries that rely heavily upon the clear, soft waters of Scotland and our unique nutrient-rich soil. So, unconventional gas extraction in the Central Belt is not only going to be an environmental disaster, it's going to create a huge economic black hole for our homegrown industries. The whisky industry will obviously deteriorate because of the water being contaminated. The meat industry will suffer if livestock grow sickly and unable to successfully reproduce, as we've seen in the United States and Australia. Our world famous tourism industry, even in the Highlands and Islands, will shrink because if unconventional gas extraction goes ahead down in the Central Belt, for overseas tourists arriving into Glasgow or Edinburgh airports heading to the Highlands and Islands, their first impression of this country is going to be a toxic, massive, polluted gas field.
Yeah, they'll be flying over flaring oil wells.
And regardless of where in Scotland these people coming into Glasgow and Edinburgh are headed, they're going to have to traverse at least 30 miles worth of this gas field before they get to the other side of it, which is a horrible impression to give somebody of our country, and it's going to put people off. So it's going to kill the tourism industry, it's going to kill our whisky industry, it's going to kill our meat industry, and it's going to kill our natural textiles industry because we won't have the soil to grow.
4 billion a year the tourism industry brings in.
There you go, 4 billion a year tourism brings in, Marie's just telling me. So it's not just a risky business, it's very selfish as well. In order for the drillers to make a profit, they're going to come in and they're going to steamroll over all the other industries without a care. I mean, what does a pile of these small businesses in Inverness or, I don't know, Tongue or Durness or whatever matter, as long as the INEOS shareholders are happy down in the Central Belt? It's selfish, it's greedy, and I personally think it's quite barbaric. Up here in Inverness and the Highlands, if unconventional gas extraction starts in the Central Belt, which is what INEOS and Clough want, you maybe will be safe for a wee while. But these companies claim that there's 30 years maximum supply of gas available in the Central Shale area. Right? I personally think that means in 5 or 10 years they're going to start looking for untapped reserves because they're going to need more than 30 years worth of profit to pay for the debts that they're going to accrue to kick off the drilling in the first place. What else? I believe that these companies, INEOS, Clough, Dart and whoever else is going to spring up or along the road, they're utterly determined to go through with unconventional gas extraction at any cost. They are adamant that this is going to happen, and it's going to happen as soon as they can. So if, as we have been really pushing for down in the Central Belt, the government do put this 2 kilometre buffer zone in place, that puts the entire Central Belt off limits. It means there will be no fracking anywhere across the Central Belt because of the density of the population. Now, I personally don't think that Jim Ratcliffe is going to just pack up his drilling rigs and go away back to the Sus and lie down. He's going to move up the road a wee bit to the bit of the country that Boris Johnson refers to as the desolate north, but the bit of the country that you guys here call home. The Highlands, Caithness, which has already got a licence, Grampian, Aberdeenshire, Angus. I personally believe that all these areas will be considered for exploration. Maybe not full-on fracking because we don't know what's actually under there at the moment, but they will be considered for exploration. These areas that I've just mentioned, these are the beating heart of Scotland. It's Scotland's larder, it's Scotland's soul. And if they find any shale rock, they'll come in and they will tear it apart without a second thought. Once that first drill hits the shale rock, whether it be in Falkirk or Cannon Bay or even Caithness, more will follow. It's like a giant unstoppable chain reaction. They're just going to keep on coming until they've squeezed out every single particle of gas that they can. And then they'll just pack up and go home. And they'll leave a trail of toxic devastation in their wake that will be left to us, the taxpayers, to clean up. It's a haphazard, half-baked industry that's run by rich men who play with our land and our water and our future like it's a game of chess after dinner. The PR company INEOS are employing at the moment to talk us round and convince us that fracking is safe is actually the same PR company that was used by the tobacco industry in the 60s and 70s to convince us that passive smoking wasn't a danger. So I think that pretty much says it all as far as INEOS's respect for the people of this country goes. They don't see us like we see each other. To them, we're not people, we're little pawns in their game. And if we don't get our fingers out and wake up to what's going on pretty damn soon, it's going to be checkmate for us. That's pretty much it. There is things that we can do. I mean, I think the main thing is education. I mean, find out as much as you possibly can about everything that goes on in this industry. And then don't just find out yourself, but share it with everybody around about you. I haven't explained fracking or any of the 3 unconventional gas extraction methods to anybody who has then turned around and said that's a good idea. Every single person that I have explained to has gone, that's absolutely crazy. So if we can just educate everybody, then it's going to be a mass refusal, because we all know that it's a completely barmy idea. Like Maria said earlier on, when we first heard of what they were actually going to do, I almost didn't believe it. I was like, that's just absolutely crazy. I mean, the underground coal gasification, they're talking about setting fire to the ground underneath the largest refinery in Europe. It's bonkers. And I think as long as we can educate people, and we don't have to lie, we don't need to use propaganda or exaggeration or anything. You put the straightforward facts in front of people, and I would say anybody that hasn't got shares in the industry will go, no, that's crazy. So that's pretty much all I've got to say that nobody else has said before me.